All right. So now that we are going to see how we can write even more API tests by just giving a simple input instead of you giving like a specific endpoint input, but to give all the endpoints input. I mean, do you know that all these APIs schemas does exist in the code, or maybe even in a centralized space? So it depends on how your application is being built as well. Some people use the API application development using a schema file, or some people uses those schema in what is called as a swagger.json file. So this is the one that I'm talking about, the swagger.json. So if you've not really heard about the Swagger documentation, you can just go to the Swagger documentation, this one, and you will notice that this is the smart beer product, and they have given you that there is a specification for an API. The current specification version is 3.0, and it also shows some of the details, like you can use some open source tools, Swagger Explorer, Swagger Hub, and all these information comes in over here. So if you just go hit this specification version 3.0, you will read through some of the information for that particular Swagger itself. So it has got all the schemas that you really need for your test or the endpoints to understand. See, this is the endpoint coming up over here based on the specification which is available for you over here. And that's how Swagger really works. And the same thing happens for most of the popular endpoints as well, even for applications which are built using Spring Boot or using .NET. They all uses this kind of documentation for the better readability and maintainability purpose, and these are things which is required for the contract to be maintained across multiple different services. Well, I say swagger.json file, if you just go and click this link, you will notice that there is going to be a very high level schema available for you over here, and it also tells you that this is the product API, and it has got this path, and this is the tag, this is the parameter being passed for this, and this is the response this particular API is going to give you. The description is success, and this is the content type, and what is the application JSON coming up for the schema, and what is the text JSON coming up for the particular product. And you can see all this information sits in over here. So this information we can actually use for our ChatGPT to prompt in to start writing the code for us, pretty much like how we passed the application source code by scraping, like web scraping, and passing it. The same thing we can do it this time for asking some questions as well. So let's see how we can do that using the ChatGPT. So I'm going to go to the ChatGPT this time, and I'm going to ask a few questions here. I'm going to say, write RestSharp with C# .NET API test code using this schema. So I'm going to paste this schema over here, and I'm going to say write all the scenarios for all the endpoints, including the edge cases. So you see that I'm not asking a simple thing here. I'm asking it to write so many things. So it's like you're asking a mountain from an ant, but guess what? We are the ant here, because we know that this whole monstrous GPTs and the models and the artificial intelligence are so powerful and so understanding the code that they can write these things for you much easily. It's just a matter of second. They have already parsed your schema, it's like this big schema, and then it has started analyzing that for you, and then it is starting to write the code in a very neat looking fashion over here. And you see that the code is already there, guys, like it is already coming up. It knows that this is the product type it has to work with, and this is the type that it is passing in, and it also does the serialization, and it also do the assertions for you. Every single operation is just keep on happening, including the delete operation, and you can see that is so good. It is doing a lot of different operation for you over here. And using this code, we can probably just copy paste it directly within our project, and then we can start writing it. And the cherry on the top of the cake is that it is also explaining what this code is. It's also putting some invalid ID and what is the response if it happens to have a product with which is not empty, and how to create a product, update the product, and there is an edge case being considered like this, dependencies being added. All these informations are given to us in just a matter of seconds with the Swagger documentation. Just think of how powerful these code that we have got over here, which makes our life more easier. And now we can also ask from the RestSharp to write this same code using the builder pattern in C#.NET. So if you have not heard about the builder patterns in C#.NET, so if you just go search for builder patterns in C#, you'll notice that there are some details available, like how you can use this pattern or coding patterns while you write the code using builders, and how it's going to make your life more easier while you write the code. That is what is the builder pattern, to be honest. I'm not going to go deep into the builder pattern, but even before you understand how you can do those things, you can ask ChatGPT to write this code in a builder pattern format. Let's see how we can do it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, can you write the above REST client code in builder pattern for all the different API operations? And if I hit enter, you'll notice that immediately ChatGPT is on it, and now it is starting to do the builder pattern code. So now it is writing the builder pattern code for RestSharp API request. You can notice that it is writing a product API request builder, and it is building it for you over here. So you see that it returns an instance of the REST client, and then it is going to be building with endpoint, with the URL segment, with query parameter, with JSON body, with header, execute. There we go. It's a lot of things. And guess what? You see that the code is now so good. All you have to do is pass this particular API into the product API request builder class as a parameter, and that's gonna do all the magics for you over here. You see that it is so beautiful. This all code has just got generated from the chat GPT without us been writing it. So that is the power of the generative AI. It just keeps on generating the test code for us, even us going deep into and understanding how this can be run. So this is really, really cool. And now in order for you to make sure like how this code actually works, I'm going to go and probably copy this entire thing. And I'm going to go to my writer IDE over here, and I'm going to create a new solution, and I'm going to call this as RestSharp test or whatever, and I'm going to choose that as N unit. That's what is being used over here, and then I'm going to create in a new window, and I'm going to, in the unit test file, I'm just going to copy this entire thing, right? So shamelessly copying everything from here all the way till here. So just do that, no worries. And we have to add the REST client library. So I'm just going to go manage NuGet package, and I'm going to install the RestSharp. So it's going to be RestSharp, which is this one, and I'm going to add that library over here, and hopefully the dependency is added. There you go. And we have got the client over here, and you see that the code is already so much legal. It is just beautiful. That is working for us over here, and hopefully that's the thing. Yeah. There is only one error here. It says the the client should be disposed in a method annotation, which is something that we have to dispose this particular object. So in order to do that, I'm going to go all the way down to this particular test method over here, and then I'm going to add a tear down. So I'm going to say a tear down, and I'm going to dispose this. You see that even this code is not written by me. It is written by the tab9, which is automatically adding that source code for me over here. So it just knows the context, and the code is written by the AI once again. I have not written that, which is quite good. And now if I'm going to go to the Postman, I guess the URL of this particular application was http colon localhost of 8001, and it was http, not https. I'm going to save that, and let's see if this particular code runs or not. So I'm going to just execute this whole code, and you can see that the code is actually working fine already. So you can see that there is a success over here, and there are some failures because it's expected to be 404, 500. Doesn't matter. You see that the code is already in a working state because we are seeing there is a success for get and update, but there are some failures here and there. Just don't worry about this failure. You can fix this issue as well if you just go deep into that, but your code is already there for all the different scenario. That's the point. Just with the Swagger documentation, you have already written a working code. And now the last thing which I wanted to do it is how we can use the same exact product builder code that we have got over here. So I'm going to copy this particular product builder API, which is really cool. I wanted to see how that works over here. And I'm going to go to the RestSharp over here, and we can just say you have written a helper or maybe a builder, who cares. In this builder, you're pretty much writing like a framework in here, and then you're going to be saying that it is a product API builder, and you can just put them all over here and just get rid of this class because you already have the class name, and you don't need this one as well. And now let's add all the missing dependencies, and just the class name, we have to add it here because that's what is required, has been returned across all the different classes over here, which is cool. The URL segment looks like this is not quite right because with URL segment is not correct. So add URL segment, and what does it returns? The object must be a non-nullable value type for the parameter. So while you get this kind of error where you don't even know how to resolve this particular problem, let me try to build this solution, and we get this particular error. So I'm gonna just copy this problem, and I'm gonna go to ChatGPT like a child, and I'm gonna ask this question, how to fix this problem. Upon building the source code from the builder pattern code, I am getting the following error. Help me fix it. And if I hit enter, you will immediately notice that the error you're encountering happens because RestSharp's add URL segment method requires a non-nullable value of type int, long, etc. But what you have passed is not that one. So you need to be updating that particular stuff over here using this code. So you see that you have to do a bit of an explicit casting to make this happen. So it's again writing the whole code, which I don't want it to happen. So I'm just going to do this. So copy this code, and I'm going to go back to my code over here, paste it, just change the name of the class. Voila, here we go. You see that the code is already working. All you have did is nothing, just copy pasted from the code, and it just works fine. And you can ensure that your rest of the test is just going to work fine, and I'm sure that's just going to work. So this is how we can see that we can able to write an entire suite of API testing with RestSharp, or maybe even Rest Assured, or with Postman much easily using this generative AI tools like ChatGPT.